moon.
Hello there, I'm Tom from That's No Moon, and in this week's battle report I take on my friend Neil's Rebel Hero Hammer list with what I'm testing to take to LGT later this month. If you're enjoying our video content and podcast, please subscribe to the channel and consider joining our Pateron. Neil's list comes in at 793 points and is 9 activations. He has Han Solo with improvised orders, offensive push and prepared supplies, Leia Organa with vigilance, lead by example and prepared supplies. He has Luke Skywalker with reflexes, push, hope and tenacity, Chewbacca with tenacity, hunter and targeting scopes, 3 naked squads of rebels and 2 squads with a DLT 20. Looking at Neil's list, having played something similar in the past, I have absolutely no idea what command cards he's bringing. This version of my Iden list is 791 points and 11 activations. It's Iden with offensive push, Overwatch or Hunter, the Repeater or the DLT. She has ID 10 as well. I have 2 squads of Shore Troopers, 2 squads of Mortars, Imperial Special Forces with a T21 and offensive push, Inferno Squad, obviously with Del and Gideon, as well as offensive push, and a strike team with no other upgrades. 3 speeder bikes with emergency transponders. Turn 0, the cards go down and we end up on long march, key positions and clear conditions. This works out pretty well for me. With infiltrate I can get as close to the centre as I like, but I can also get some good line of sight on the key position. I deploy Iden with her sniper and Overwatch, as I think Overwatch might come in handy in the closing turns of the game with pulse scan. Neil deploys his army behind the landing pad that blocks line of sight, and the key positions are the Lambda shuttle, the area light cover boxes in the centre of the table, and I choose the fuel tank just outside my deployment zone. My plan is simple. I'm going to ignore his key position and work on mine in the centre point. I think Tac Strike is a good area denial for the centre, as is pulse scan, and I can send my bikes off to try and get some wounds on the rebels before they get to the rest of my lines. Turn 1 I decide to play Assault. I don't need to use any of my lower pips until later in the game, and as we're playing Long March I won't have the best use of Tac Strike, as Neil can hold his troopers back, and that could potentially waste one of my better command cards. Neil plays Return of the Jedi, and we both tie for 3 pips. We roll the chance cube and Neil gets the priority. Neil gives his order to Luke, Leia and Han, and I give orders to Iden, the snipers and Inferno squad, and with retinue, Inferno taking aim. Neil activates Leia, who take cover 3s a dodge to Han, and with teamwork Chewie also gets a dodge, and 2 core troopers. He then moves up as his second action. I pull a core who just double move up to a barricade, and Neil does similar with one of his core. Pulling a bike, a compulsory move, and then I measure range 4 of Neil's DLT squad. If he wants to shoot me, he's going to have to move. And then with my second action, I take a dodge. Although I could have moved into range 3 for a shot on his core, I want to play a little safe with my bikes and have them all strike at once. Neil now decides to move up some core onto the landing pad with a double move, being careful to stay out of line of sight of my army. I go to my bag again, as I want to save my special forces till later in the round. I activate a mortar and a double move. I'm careful to keep some of my base obscured by the fuel tank to keep safe in cover, but pointing towards the direction that Neil is going to have to take to get to the key position. Neil pulls another core and again double moves. This is generally the actions of most units on turn 1 of Long March. This time I pull a support, and with my second squad of bikes I do exactly the same as the first squad. I double move and dodge just outside of range 4. Now deciding to activate Han Solo, Neil moves up and considers a second move. I think at this point he realises that I have 3 high velocity and 2 marksman guns who love shooting white saves, so a double move, but he stays out of line of sight. Pulling another core again, I move my shores up. Neil's next core now do the same and move towards Leia to support her on the landing pad, and they take a dodge. With my final bikes, I move them to do the same as the other 2 squads. I double move just outside of range 4 of Neil's DLT, and I take a dodge. At this point, it's pretty obvious that the bikes are the first minis that I ever painted, compared to the bikes 5 years later, and this is definitely making me want to paint this whole list. Anyway, Neil now activates his DLT core, and he dodge standbys. I'm now out of tokens in my bag apart from the mortar. I decide to go with the Special Forces squad, so I aim and standby to try and give an area deterrent to Luke. As the last unit in Neil's bag, Chewie activates. He moves up to support Han with a double move. Activating my final mortar, I move up, again obscuring my base for the cover, and then I dodge. Neil passes to give him time to think of what he wants to do with Luke, so I activate Inferno squad, who aim and shoot the DLT squad of rebels in heavy cover. With high velocity, Neil can't spend his dodge, and I spend 2 aims to make a blanker crit, making it 2 to defend, and Neil loses a mini. Luke now double moves just outside of range 2 of my ISF, not to set off the standby. This is a great position for a dive in round 2. However, he is just outside of range 2, which means that he can't move, force push, and then charge me. Neil taps reflexes for a dodge to finish his turn. Making the most of this opportunity, I activate a sniper, and I aim and shoot at Luke. With heavy down to light, Luke has 1 to defend. With high velocity, he can't spend the dodge, and he takes a suppression. I round out the turn with Iden. I tap offensive push and move to get an aim. I spend the aim on a hit to make it a crit to defend. Again, with high velocity, Luke can't spend a dodge, and he takes a wound. For turn 2, I decide to go for Tac Strike. I give all of my Special Forces and Iden tactical and steady, and Neil plays full of surprises to make Luke more defensive. With his 2-pip, Neil wins priority, so he double moves, force pushes the ISF into melee with him. This will keep him safe. He was just out of range 2, so he couldn't force push and then move to trigger a charge. I immediately activate these ISF and I disengage Luke. This leaves Luke in front of my whole army with 2 dodges and additional white dice equal to his courage minus his suppression. He's currently getting 3 extra dice, so I want to pull the mortars early to take as many dice away as quickly as possible, as they have the suppressive keyword. Activating a DLT squad, Neil moves up and takes a shot on my shores in heavy cover. After cover, he gets 2 hits and I save them both. Pulling my first squad of bikes, I pop my emergency transponders for an aim. A compulsory move, I aim and I shoot Luke. 1 goes to cover for his suppression, and there's 5 to defend. Annoyingly, with 2 aims I rolled 6 hits, meaning I don't need any of them. Luke spends a dodge and he saves 3, but takes a wound. Neil pulls Chewie and taps improvise orders to get a core trooper. Neil decides to aim and shoot the bikes that have just activated. He gets all blanks, and then with an aim he re-rolls 2 for 1 through cover, and I take a wound. Getting a core, I pivot and shoot Luke with my mortar. I get 1 crit, and he can roll 1 red and 2 white. He takes a wound and gets 2 suppression. And with that activation, Luke's command card effect is now completely done. Han now activates, and Neil double moves up to cover, tapping O push to give Chewie an aim. I activate Iden, who double moves to get 2 aims and then shoots Luke. I spend 2 aims to make it a crit to defend, and Luke takes another wound. Neil activates Chewie and moves up to shoot the ISF squad that disengaged Luke. He shoots, and with scopes he rerolls 3 with the aim, getting 2 crits. I save both, once spending the surge, and then with Pierce I lose a single mini. Getting my second bike, I again pop a transponder for an aim. I move, aim and shoot, and I get 4 after cover. He makes it 3 to defend with the final dodge, and Luke takes another wound. Neil activates some Rebel Corps, who move up and take a shot on some bikes. After the speeder cover, there's 1 to defend, which they take. I now activate Inferno Squad, who double move, tap offensive push for 3 aims, and I shoot Luke. I spend all 3 to change the blanks to hits, leaving 4 to defend. Luke takes 2 more wounds, and he's now dead. This is huge for the game, as Luke is a major player in the list. It also means that Neil has potentially lost some of his really good command cards. Going with Leia, Neil hands out 3 dodges, and then she dodges herself. I now activate my sniper, who double moves and cohere into heavy cover, and I shoot Han Solo. With heavy cover down to light cover, and then back up with low profile, I get 1 crit with PS1, and he takes a wound. The core squad now move up and shoot my bikes. After cover, I take another wound. With another mortar, I aim and shoot Neil's core with a DLT. After my aims, he's got 1 crit to defend, and he takes a wound. Neil passes, so my shores now activate. I aim and shoot at the squad of rebels. After the aim, I get 1 to defend, and he spends his dodge. He then aims standbys with some cores, and as I outnumber Neil by 2, after the pass action, I'm left to clean up the turn. I activate some bikes, who move and shoot at Neil's rebels. After cover and the aim, I have 3 for him to defend. Neil saves 2 and loses a man. My final activation is the last shores, who get 2 crits after an aim, and Neil loses another man. Going into turn 3, I'm really happy about the position I'm in. I've killed Luke, and I know he's lost some command cards, so I play Ambush to have the 1 pip, and save Iden's more useful command cards for later in the game. Neil plays No Time for Sorrows, giving any unit with a face-up order a free move. With my 1 pip to his 2 pip, I gain the priority. I order Iden, and Neil orders Chewie and Leia. I go to the bag and I draw a mortar. If I can suppress Chewie, he'll only get 1 action. I get 2 crits and Neil takes a wound, but most importantly he takes 2 suppression. Neil now activates Leia, who moves, hands out some dodges with take cover. Getting another core, I aim and shoot my second mortar at Chewie, again getting 2 crits. He takes 2 wounds, leaving him on 3 wounds out of 9, but more importantly, he's on 4 suppression. Chewie now activates. He tries to rally, but only loses a single suppression, leaving him with a single action. He shoots my mortar, who takes 2 wounds. I realise at this point that I downgrade my dice to white dice. I'm not sure why, it's probably just because I'm an idiot. I activate my ISF, who move up and tap offensive push to get an aim. And they move to the objective and shoot Leia. After cover, she's got 4 to defend. She spends a dodge to make it 3, and she takes 2 wounds. Now activating a core squad, Neil aims and shoots my ISF. With 3 down to 2, I lose a single mini. Now deciding to go with Inferno squad, with Del's repair I pull 2 wounds off of a bike squad. I then shoot some rebels for 6 down to 4 and Neil loses a squad. I then move up to some better cover. Neil now activates Han Solo. He double moves to shoot my sniper squad, with heavy cover down to light, then low profile making it cover 2. He gets a crit with Pierce 1 and I lose a single man. Now getting a core token, I decide to activate the Shore squad. They aim and shoot at Chewie. After cover, I get 2 to defend and Chewie takes another 2 wounds. Neil's DLT squad now shoot my bikes and they get 2 crits, which I manage to save them both. A bike squad who just got attacked now double move and shoot the rebels. Getting 2 after cover, Neil takes another wound. With his second DLT, he now aims and shoots. After cover, I have 3 to defend and I lose a mini. Back to my bag, I pull my sniper, who keeps his suppression. He moves and shoots Han. With 1 crit, that's another wound. Activating a squad at the back, Neil dodge and standbys. Now free to activate the rest of my list, I move my bikes and I shoot some rebels. I get 2 crits that both hit and he loses 2 minis. My second Shore squad move and shoot Chewie. With a single crit, Chewie takes another wound. My final bikes double move and shoot the core again. This time, I get them off the table. Having saved Iden till last, I now quick thinking and shoot Chewie for a single crit with Pierce. Going into turn 4, I pull out Concussive Blast to get Iden's 5 red dice blast gun. I think Neil is going to play aggressively with Han, so this is a good counter to that. To my surprise, he plays standing orders. So my order goes to Iden and his goes to Chewie. I go to my bag and I pull out Special Forces. I go with Inferno squad, I move into range of Leia and I shoot. After the aim for Retinue, I get 5 down to 3 and Leia takes 2 wounds. Activating Chewie, Neil now double moves into melee with my ISF. He hits for 4 and I take 2 wounds. I then pull a core token and I aim and shoot Neil's DLT squad, and I get 1 through cover and Neil spends a dodge. Activating Han, Neil dodges and moves. With steady, he takes a shot on my sniper. As he's the only target in range 2, he can only make a single shot, and the sniper is dead. I now go with Iden, who recovers. She then immediately taps Offensive Push and shoots her blast suppressive gun into Han. I don't need the aim, as I get 5 hits. Neil takes 3 wounds and he lives on a single wound left. Activating his DLTs by the bikes, Neil shoots them and they take a wound. I decide to go with my Imperial Special Forces and I disengage from Chewie. Leia now activates and hands out more dodges, and then she shoots my bikes, who again take a wound. My first squad of bikes double move and attack the rebels in no cover. I get 4, Neil spends a dodge, and they take 2 wounds. Neil's second DLT squad now aim and shoot at the bikes, and I lose my first bike mini. My second full squad of bikes now aim and shoot the rebels for 3 down to 2 with a dodge. The squad is now down to just a heavy weapon and the unit leader. Neil's last core now aim and shoot at my bikes. They get 1 and I save. My final bike pops the last transponder I move and take a second aim. I shoot Neil, and he spends a dodge and is completely unwounded. My Shores now aim and shoot Chewie. They get 2 wounds. My Mortar is my final activation, and this might surprise you, but I aim and shoot Chewie for 2 crits and he takes a single wound. For 10-5, I go with Pulse Scan and Neil goes for Sorry About the Mess. As Han always shoots first, it's a 0 pip and Neil gets the priority. My order goes to Iden and his to Han. Han activates first and moves up with Steady. He shoots my ISF. With Sharpshooter and Pierce, the squad is dead. He then moves back into some cover. With Inferno, I now aim. I then split my fire. I shoot Chewie with Hask and Sen, and I get 2 after cover, and Chewie's now dead. I then shoot Del into Leia with crit and Pierce 1. She takes another wound. The DLT squad now aims and shoots a bike. With 3 hits down to 2, I take 2 wounds. I now activate Iden, who moves and shoots at Leia. I get nothing and I don't spend my aim. With my card effect, I then get an aim and a standby. I've cohered ID10 as far forward as possible to extend my range 3 bubble of my standby as much as possible. Leia now activates and shoots my bikes. After Sharpshooter and Pierce, I take 2 wounds. Pulling a Mortar, I aim and shoot at Neil's unactivated DLT squad. I get 2 wounds and he takes 2, leaving just the unit leader. Neil goes with another core, who shoot my bike approaching them. 2 hits down to 1 and I lose a bike. My Shores now double move to the center key position. Then Neil's single core activates and rallies and only gets a single action. He decides to dodge. I then spend my standby on Iden. I then shoot Leia and I get 1 with Pierce. And Leia is now dead as well. I have a couple of activations left this round, and I use them to move some bikes around and move some Shores up to the middle. I've got Incapacitate left and Neil only has standing orders. In turn 6, I would move and give his core unit a face down order to stop him contesting the middle objective, so Neil calls it there. I think Long March is a real tough deployment for this list, and losing Luke turn 2 was a real blow. My advice would be to remember that key position is a marathon, not a sprint, and to play the long game. Don't move in too quick, as it could cost you the game. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
That's no move.